Hi and welcome. I'm Paul Grantham, consultant clinical psychologist with the Skills Development Service. What I'd like to say a little bit about briefly today is the whole question of how to choose an introductory CBT course. Now, we know at SDS that this is a pressing issue for many of you, simply on the basis of the number of inquiries that we actually receive about it. Not just in terms of what particular course to choose, but also what you should be looking out for in any introductory course that you're thinking of doing regarding CBT. I want to just emphasize that I don't want to say anything today about longer term courses, for example level 1, level 2 courses that lead to BAB-CP accreditation. There's a great deal written about those elsewhere. What I'm really wanting to focus on is short courses, 2, 3, 4, 5-day courses, that sort of length of time really, which represent an introductory course for CBT, and which I guess you might wish to be choosing either because you're wanting to get a general introduction to this particular modality, or you want to add to the tools in your toolkit with regards to the clients that you work with, or maybe you're looking to have some sort of career progression where you feel that some sort of introductory CBT course would be worth actually doing. So what I want to do is to simply take you through 6 key factors which you ought to be considering applying to any course that you might be weighing up in terms of choosing. So first of all is the whole question of whether the course is actually run by a tutor who is an accredited BAB-CP CBT therapist. Now, this is not to suggest that there aren't CBT therapists around who are not accredited, who are not excellent therapists and are no doubt very good trainers as well. The point is that it's very difficult to know whether that's the case when there is no external accreditation process which that particular therapist has actually gone through. The BAB-CP is the body in the UK for accrediting CBT therapists. It's the only one that's actually recognised by the UK government, and for that particular reason I think it is important to go with a tutor who is actually accredited by that particular body. Secondly is the whole issue about whether the course itself is accredited or approved. Now, this is slightly more complicated to actually address for the very simple reason that although longer term courses are actually accredited by the BAB-CP, the situation with regards to shorter courses is more confusing, and certainly there is not a formal accreditation process by the BAB-CP regarding short courses of the nature that I've actually mentioned. However, having said that, there are a number of courses which are approved by other bodies. For instance, the Skills Development Service runs a certificate as an introduction to CBT, which is approved by the British Psychological Society Learning Centre, for instance. And I guess that also emphasises another point, which is please don't just go for a course which is accredited or approved. Do go for a course which is accredited or approved by a body that you've actually heard of. I know that sounds self-evident, but there are a number of attempts that are around at the moment for training providers to either end up accrediting their own courses, or alternatively to go with a spurious body which they've often been involved in the setting up of to have some form of what appears to be external accreditation. So go for a course which is accredited or approved by a recognised external body. Thirdly is the whole issue of price. Now again, this is somewhat complicated because on the one hand we would all like to have training which is as cheap as possible, if not free, but on the other hand we need to recognise obviously that things cost money. So there is a sort of quality threshold, I guess, which needs to be thought about when choosing the price of any CBT course that you're actually thinking of signing up for. Leaving aside the quality of the actual tutors, there's also the issue of what the venue is going to be like, and by definition that's going to have a price that's going to be attached to it. There's also about the issue about the quality of the backup materials which are going to be provided, And finally, if you are talking about a course which has an external kosher approval process attached to it, there's also going to be a price attached to that. So I guess that broadly speaking, I would probably suggest looking for courses which are charging a daily rate of, I guess, around about $125, $150 a day. So if you're looking at a 2-day course, you really ought not to be looking at anything which is any more at the outside than about £300, or if you're looking at a 3-day course, for example, it really should be more than about $450, and so on and so forth. Fourthly is the whole question of the quality of the teaching. Now, again, this is terribly difficult to judge, but I guess at the end of the day, reputation is everything. So you go with a course where you have worked with the tutor yourself previously, or you go with a course where the tutor is recommended by a colleague, and in some instances you go with a course where the actual organisation has a good reputation. For example, here at SDS, for instance, we've actually trained over 100,000 delegates since we were first set up 20 years ago. I'll just repeat that because I do think the number is significant, over 100,000 delegates. And I myself personally have been involved in the training of somewhere between about 30 and 40,000 delegates. Fifthly, how practical or theoretical is the course? Now again, this is one of those issues where you need to be thinking about striking a balance. If you're going to go off on a 2, 3, 4-day course, you're going to want to come back with some practical skills, I think, very understandably. You don't want to come back with a load of head knowledge, but really no practical idea about what to do. So for that particular reason, you do need a course which has a reasonable emphasis with regards to practice. And when I say practice, I guess I mean covering things like demonstration, observation, direct practice yourself, and the opportunity to deal with practical issues that might crop up with the use of that particular modality. You know, what happens when you try and use this with particular clients, where you have difficulties, what are the limits of this particular approach, where should you use it, where shouldn't you use it, those sorts of issues. And again, I'm sort of plucking figures to some extent out the air here, but I would probably suggest that sort of practical side of things should constitute around about 50% of the course, maybe slightly under, but around about 50% of the course. If it's more than that, then you might wish to ask yourself whether really you're going to be getting a sufficient theoretical background to the particular approach that you're going to be looking at. Whether you're going to be able to understand where it's come from, whether you're going to be able to understand the logic that's behind this as a particular approach, and whether you're going to know how to place it within a particular way of working. So look for a broad balance, a broadly 50-50 balance between the two. And finally, I know this sounds like a silly practical issue, but it is worth raising. How close to home is this particular training course? I mention this for two reasons really. First of all, there's the whole issue of cost, both in terms of transport to get to the particular training venue, and maybe the cost of hotels and staying over. The other issue, of course, is the whole question of how tired you're going to actually be. If you are actually going to commute in each day and you are looking at, I don't know, a 2, and in some instances, you won't believe this from what I've heard, 3-hour commute in each way to the particular course that you're actually coming to, you've got to ask some questions about how much you're actually going to get out of the course. You need something where, yeah, sure, you're going to have to be maybe commuting into it each day, but it shouldn't be that onerous in terms of time that's actually being taken up in order to do that. And that's one of the reasons, for example, that SDS use a number of regional training centres for their introductory CBT course. So basically there are 6 key factors to bear in mind when you're thinking about choosing an introductory CBT course. First of all, whether it's actually being run by an accredited BAB-CP CBT therapist. Secondly, whether the course is actually accredited or approved, and not only is it accredited or approved, but it's accredited or approved by a body that you've actually heard of. Thirdly, what the price is. Is it too cheap? Is it a rip-off? Fourthly, what's the quality of the teaching like? What's the reputation of the tutor like? What's the reputation of the training organisation like? Fifthly, what's the practical theoretical balance on the course? You should be looking roughly at about 50-50 between the two. And finally, how close to home is it? You don't want to be travelling too far, either because of cost or tiredness. Now obviously, I hope that you're going to be interested in the courses that we actually run here at the Skills Development Service, and if you are interested in our Introductory CBT course, please have a look at our website, which is at www.skillsdevelopment.co.uk. However, if you do decide to go with another provider, then so be it, but please do bear in mind the particular factors that I've actually mentioned. They should apply to everybody. Many thanks for your time. Take care.